So, what really makes a person a criminal? I mean, is it something you're born with, or is it something you become? Today, we are diving deep into some fascinating theories that look for the answer not out in society, but right inside the individual. We're going to get into the mind, the personality, and all those unconscious drives that just might lead someone down a criminal path.
So, here's what we've got lined up. We'll kick things off with that huge question: why commit crime? Then, we're going to unpack three big psychological ideas, everything from Freud's inner battles to Bandura's theory that we just learned to be bad. We'll even put these theories on trial before tackling that ultimate question of free will. Let's jump right in.
And here it is, really the central question of all criminology. Are criminals born or are they made? Is it something deep inside them, in their psychology? Or is it the world around them that pushes them in that direction? That's the huge debate we're getting into today.
Now, all the theories we're going to dig into today, they focus squarely on the individual. The idea here is that the real answers aren't necessarily out there in society or economics, but they're inside our own heads, in our minds, our personalities, and our life experiences.
Okay, let's kick things off with a name I'm sure you've heard before: Sigmund Freud. His argument was that to really understand crime, we have to look past our conscious choices and deep into the hidden battles that are raging inside our own minds.
See, for Freud, the seeds of who we become are planted way back in our childhood. He believed that if we have these unresolved conflicts from when we're young, they can just sit there and fester, messing with our ability to control our impulses and pretty much setting the stage for criminal behavior way down the line.
Freud's famous iceberg model is the perfect way to picture this. Think about it. What we see above the water, our conscious mind, that's just the tip. The real action is happening below the surface, in this huge, hidden, unconscious part of our mind. That's where our deepest, darkest drives and conflicts live, and they're the ones silently steering the ship.
So to understand that hidden battle, Freud gave us three key players. First, you've got the id. Just picture the little devil on your shoulder. It's the totally selfish animal part of you that just wants what it wants, and it wants it right now. On the other shoulder, you've got the superego, and that's the angel. That's your moral conscience.
And then, right there in the middle, is the ego. And yeah, the ego's basically you. Its job is to be the referee, trying to make the devil happy without completely ignoring the angel, all while dealing with the real world. It's a tough job.
So to put it all together, the id is screaming, "I want it now." The superego is that little voice of your parents in your head saying, "No, you absolutely shouldn't." And the ego, it's the stressed-out manager trying to find some kind of compromise. According to Freud, crime is basically what happens when this whole internal negotiation just completely falls apart.
But here's where it gets really interesting. How can the moral part of us, the superego, actually go wrong and lead to crime? You'd think it would be the opposite, right? But it's not always that simple.
Freud pointed to three different ways this can happen. First, a weak superego. Pretty straightforward, you just don't feel much guilt. Then there's a deviant superego, where you've learned your morals from a criminal role model, so you don't even see your actions as wrong. But the most mind-bending one is the harsh superego. Imagine feeling so much guilt all the time that you actually commit crimes just hoping to get caught and punished, simply to feel some relief. It's a wild idea.
And hey, just to help you remember all that, here's a classic for you. Ego and superego walk into a bar. The bartender says, "I'm going to need to see some ID." Just a little something to help lock in those terms.
All right, so moving on from the deep, dark, unconscious mind, let's turn to something we can actually try to measure: our personality. The psychologist Hans Eysenck had this big question. Is there such a thing as a criminal personality? A specific set of traits that could actually predict who might break the law?
Eysenck's whole theory was that we could spot potential criminals just by looking at their character traits. He wasn't interested in hidden conflicts. He was looking at stable, measurable parts of our personality that, when they mix together in a certain way, create what he called a criminal personality.
So he came up with three key dimensions. First is extroversion. These are your outgoing, sociable types who crave excitement and, really importantly, get bored easily. Then there's neuroticism. People who score high here are often anxious, angry, or depressed. And finally, psychoticism. This one is all about being egocentric, aggressive, and impulsive. Not a great combination.
So, why these three specific traits? Well, Eysenck's research seemed to give him the answer. He gave personality tests to thousands of prisoners, and then to a control group of non-prisoners. And the results? They were pretty striking. The prisoners consistently scored higher on all three dimensions: psychoticism, extroversion, and neuroticism. For Eysenck, this was strong evidence of a link between this personality profile and criminal behavior.
Okay, but what if the answer isn't buried in our minds or hardwired into our personalities? What if it's all around us? Our third theory, from Albert Bandura, argues that criminals aren't born, they're made, that we actually learn to be criminal from the people we watch every single day.
Bandura's idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It goes like this. We watch other people, especially people we look up to. Then we pay close attention to what happens to them. Do they get rewarded for what they do, or do they get punished? And if we see them get away with something, or even get praised for it, we are much more likely to copy them. It's just learning by example.
And the famous Bobo doll experiment really brought this whole idea to life. So kids watched an adult just beat up an inflatable doll, punching it, kicking it. Later, when the kids were left all alone with that same doll, what do you think happened? They copied the adult's behavior, sometimes with terrifying accuracy. It was undeniable proof that aggression can be learned just by watching someone else.
And this theory isn't just academic. It's been applied to some truly horrific real-world cases. In the tragic case of James Bulger in the UK, the trial judge himself suggested that the young killer's exposure to violent movies might have played a part, which is a direct reference to the core ideas of social learning theory.
Okay, so we have three very different explanations for crime: unconscious conflict, a specific personality type, and learned behavior. Now it's time to put them all on trial, so to speak, and really weigh the evidence. What are their biggest strengths, and where do they fall short?
All right, let's put them head to head. Freud, he definitely gets points for highlighting how important our childhood is, but honestly, his theories are nearly impossible to prove or disprove. How do you even measure the unconscious? Eysenck, on the other hand, has the data to back him up, but his theory feels a little fatalistic, doesn't it? Like we're just prisoners of our personality? And Bandura, he does a great job showing the power of our environment, but it can't quite explain why two people can see the exact same thing and one copies it while the other doesn't. You see, each theory gives us a really valuable piece of the puzzle, but not a single one gives us the whole picture.
Now there's this one idea that runs through all of these theories, and it leads us to a really big, kind of unsettling question. If our actions are being shaped by all these forces that are pretty much beyond our conscious control, what does that really mean for the idea of free will?
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? If our behavior is determined by forces we can't control, whether it's some unconscious battle, our built-in personality, or the environment we just happen to grow up in, how much choice do we really have in the matter? It's a huge question, and it goes right to the heart of how we think about crime, punishment, and even human nature itself. So what do you think?